Let me give you another example of using male stereotypes to create sexual frames with women. Let's say that this is a great one, I've used this tons of times. You're out at a bar, you're talking to a woman, and at a certain point she says, "I have to go find my friends." What I'll say to her is, I've known you for 5 minutes, and you're already trying to get me to have an orgy with you and your friends? Slow down there, Tiger. I don't know you that well yet. Maybe a threesome, but nothing more. Don't get your hopes up. Now, women always laugh at this, and it's hilarious, but it also is sucking them into a sexual frame. So let's go through what's going on here. You're using a male stereotype to frame her comment about going to find her friends as meaning that she's trying to get you into an orgy. You're misinterpreting her. Then you're making a concession by giving her a slightly less extreme offer. Because she's trying to get you to do something, or at least you're interpreting her action, her utterance, as trying to get you to do something, it's going to set the meta frame that you're the prize she's trying to win over. And this is going to hit several compliancy triggers. The first one is, not surprisingly, like all of the reverse gender stereotypes, is apposition of opposites. Usually it's the man trying to get the woman to do something, some crazy sexual act, and the woman counters with something less extreme. If the guy's like, "Let's go have sex in the park," the woman might say, "How about a kiss at the end of the night?" In this case, you're reversing it. You're interpreting her as wanting to do some wild sexual thing, and you're countering with something less extreme like a threesome. This is confusing to her. Her conscious mind can't process it, and this is going to make her more compliant. Another compliancy trigger is quid pro quo. Though you're rejecting her first offer, you're making a concession by giving her a counter. And this is, as you already know, is going to induce her to make a concession by accepting your counter offer. Now, a small caveat. Even if this doesn't always result in her having a threesome with you, it's still incredibly effective. When she doesn't have a threesome with you, she'll almost inevitably drag you along to meet her friends. Another compliancy trigger at work is commitment and consistency. You're giving her the self-image of someone who'd get sexual with you. What this means is that her future behaviors are more likely to be consistent with the new sexual identity you've given her. This is probably the most crucial compliancy trigger of the whole sexual frame. Even though you're saying this in a joking manner, it works because you're unconsciously getting her to buy into a more sexualized self-image. Also, the compliancy trigger seducing is at work here. You're goading her into thinking, though you're a little scared by her offer, you could be had for something a bit less extreme than an orgy. And the compliancy trigger scarcity is also at work here. You're taking away a freedom of hers, namely to have an orgy with you. Doing this also builds arousal inside of a woman. You're filling her sexual need to seduce you. You're also doing several things to create the perceptual filter of comfort. You're not forcing her to have a threesome with you or forcing her to stay and talk with you. Instead, you're emotionally compelling her to want to do these things. You're evoking the emotions from within her, and you're making her chase you as opposed to you chasing her. You're also using reciprocity. You're interpreting her saying, "I gotta go find my friends," as her wanting to have an orgy with you, and you're telling her, that's a bit much, but then you reciprocate, you give her a counteroffer. And when quid pro quo or reciprocation takes place between people, it builds a feeling of comfort. Also, you're giving her the self-image of someone who would want to get sexual with you. This is going to make her feel more comfortable when you do get sexual with her. And the fact that you're doing something that women normally do, which is interpret a man as a pervert who's trying to get them to do something sexual. The fact that they get that humor and that psychology demonstrates an understanding of their world. This makes you an authority in their world, and when you're an authority in someone's world, they're more likely to trust your judgment and be more compliant and be comfortable with doing what you tell them to do. So all of these things are going to create the perceptual filter of comfort.